Hi, friends. Welcome to Take Part. This is the podcast where we talk about reaching out and joining in to experience deeper connection, achieve your goals, and enrich your life. I want to remind you that this is a new podcast, so anything that you can do to support us is really, really helpful. Please subscribe on YouTube. You can follow along on any of the podcast platforms where you listen to podcasts. You can also get each episode emailed to you if you subscribe at takepart.substack.com. If you want to reach out to me for ideas or questions or anything like that, feel free to do so at takepart@tuta.com. That's TUTA.com. All right, we're going to dive in. I am joined today by Rhian Rotz. Hi, Rhian.
Hey, it's great to see you, Emily.
Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where shall I start? So, just because of the topic we're going to be talking about, I'll start by sharing is that I work to live. And so some of the things that are really interesting to me or how I spend my time, I'm here in Oregon with my husband, Derek, and I'm a yoga practitioner and Pilates practitioner. I love to volunteer. I'm an entrepreneur. A lot of my professional work really focused on helping growing people and navigate change as a coach and facilitator. So love working with teams and organizations as well. And then I also enjoy listening to podcasts. So it's great to be on this podcast. I'm a huge photographer. I'll photograph anything, although usually things that don't move really are probably my better photos. So I love to travel. And I love a lot of wines and cuisine. And so that really feeds my spirit of travel, which is every time I can, I will get out on the road. And then I'll wrap it up by saying I'm a golfer and I'm also a race walker, which is really what I'm here to talk about today and share with you.
Yes, fabulous. What a lovely, rich intro. Thank you for that. So yeah, we're going to talk about race walking today. What exactly is race walking?
It's a really good question. So race walking in a nutshell is really a full body endurance sport. It's similar to running, but it has two pretty important rules. The rules become more important if you actually become a competitor. So it has two rules that one foot, so think about walking or walking fast. One foot must always appear in contact with the ground. And the front leg must be straightened, not bent at the knee, from the moment it touches the ground until it passes under the body. So when I mention race walking to some people, they'll often share, oh, that's the Olympic sport, and they've got funny hip swinging motion, and they almost look elastic. And that's a very common response when I say I've been race walking. Yeah. So it is. It is an Olympic sport. It's actually been an Olympic sport since, I think, like 1902 or something similar, like as early as that. So it's been around a really long time. Although let's just say that women have only been competing in the sport since about 1992. So
oh, wow.
There was a lot of lobbying by female internationals to get it equal opportunities there for women to compete. So yeah, if you get really serious into the sport, then there are a lot of judges that are watching really closely and can disqualify you if your feet are off the ground at once or if your knee is bent on contact. And so I'm not at that point. I don't have plans to be in the Olympics, but it's exciting to see and to know that it's a sport that's available and it has a long history, especially outside of the United States. I think it is particularly strong.
Very cool. How did this idea come to you? How did you get into it?
Yeah, so it was a confluence of factors that I would say that got me into race walking. So I've always been very active outdoors. I love it. I'm a big fan of poetry and writing, and the words that always stuck with me with the words of John Muir around nature and being outside. And every walk with nature, one receives more than he seeks, right? And that idea of being outdoors. So always hiked a lot, always walked a lot. And then later in life with my husband, he became an ultra trail runner. And so I'd stopped volunteering for trail races. And I got to know a lot of people in that community. And that community is super supportive. It's super vibrant. It's a real fun community. And healthy competition is what I'd say. And so I, this idea was staying with me. I'd go out and hike. I didn't really have big community around me. And yet I'd turn up to these volunteer events, which I loved. But I'm often sitting at an aid station or something along those lines where I'd want to be out there with them, but I wasn't really the one moving. So one day, it was actually not long after a race, my husband had completed a 50K here in the Columbia Gorge in Oregon. And I started to do some research, and literally I typed in walk fast with a team, something along those lines. And it probably wasn't the most strategic search. But anyway, I found out the following Wednesday, there was a track meet here in Portland with someone called Coach Common. And she is the founder of Reshod Shoes, race walking shoes, a brand that she designed and she's invested in over a long time. Anyway, she was a member of the US Women's Olympic race walking team, I think in probably like 2015 or so. And she has her own business and set up this training camp, I guess, and offers trainings and so forth. Anyway, I turned up, and that was pretty much the beginning of my race walking journey. They were so welcoming. They were so kind. There were people from all different backgrounds. And I think I just had a little bit of an edge because, breaking into new communities, I already could walk. So it sounds simple, but I think that is part of the barrier of when you join in new communities is that when there's so much that is not familiar to you and you don't have something that you're confident about, it makes that a little bit more risky. Whereas I knew I could walk. I didn't really know what race walking was, what was involved, but I was confident that I could get on the track and listen and contribute. And so that was my first step.
Yeah, I love that. Are you a competitive person? Like, do you seek out the competitive aspect?
Well, that's the funny part is that I'm not really a competitive person. I mean, when I'm looking out for community, and I say this often in other communities that I'm a part of, I want people to be equally invested in the fun as the activity that we're doing. If it's all too serious, not the competitive people aren't fun, but it's that stress, right? It overtakes the reason why we're gathering or why we're getting together or why we're learning a new skill is when it's just competitive. So I wouldn't describe myself as competitive, but now I've had some teammates who say that I'm probably a little bit more competitive than I'd care to admit.
For sure. That's nice. I think I'm the same way. I'm just like, no, I'm the least competitive person ever. But then when I get into something, I can be like, okay. And then if I lose, I'm like, okay, great. Nice work. Like it doesn't.
Exactly. I showed up.
Exactly. Yeah. It was fun. I showed up. And then so this is a sort of a new experience with something that you could already do walking. Like, did you know that you loved it right away? Did it take some time to kind of get used to this new format, get used to this new community? Like, how did you get committed to it, I guess?
Yeah, it's a good question. So it was an absolute experiment to join Coach Common and to say yes, just 3 days after I'd found this literally by a search on the internet. So I was just intrigued by the possibilities. The learning curve wasn't too steep. And I remember telling Coach Common that I walked a 17-minute mile. And she responded by saying, we can shave off 4 minutes in no time. And I was thinking, oh, that got me interested, right? Interested. I was intrigued, and it really got me wondering about, well, maybe something is here for me. So did I love it from the beginning? No, because it wasn't natural for me. And actually the team of people who I would race walk with. So I am a novice at this sport for sure. And the people who participate have been members for maybe 10, 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And then when you hear folks like competing over years in different races, then you start to realize, wow, I mean, there's also a international like meetup every year. So I think it's in South Korea next year. It's a masters in race walking. Some people are completely dedicated and they'll go to these master meetups to compete. And so, I mean, people are very devoted to this sport, which sometimes, very few people, not everybody knows about.
Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. And I love that you acknowledge that sometimes, regardless of how excited you are about a community, it can be a little bit tricky to get started, or you need to sort of practice it a few times and really see if it's resonating. So I just appreciate that you're like, I'm going to try some things out. It's an experiment, right?
Yeah. And I think what I'd add is that because I think I knew over time I would need to do some additional exercises to protect my body.
Mm,
I mean, you use your hips and your glutes and your hamstrings in ways that you don't on the everyday.
yeah.
And so, and that's turned out the case. I mean, it's not forced me. I was going to use the word forced, but it's it's been really beneficial to do more to lift more weights and to do exercises that maybe aren't so fun. But that's really out of choice so that I can stay fit and just sustain the work that I've been doing and continue to enjoy the sport as opposed to anything else. But it's been interesting how it's had ripple effects and other changes in my life.
Yeah, for sure. And positive ones, it sounds like.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel stronger at this age than I did probably 20 years. So
Amazing. Yeah.
that's really quite interesting.
That's
Yeah.
huge. That's huge. What is the community like? Like what you mentioned that a lot of these people have been doing this maybe for 10 or 15 years. I assume you have periodic practices or events and things, gatherings. So what does that sort of aspect of it look like for you? And have you made connections through this?
Yeah, that's been a big part is having this community. So when I talked about walking being such an individualistic sport, activity, I should say, and hard time finding community, race walking has been quite the opposite. I just think of some words such as loyal and seasoned and strong and welcoming and very encouraging and very supportive.
Mm.
It's interesting. There's a lot of inner competition, but within people, but I haven't experienced as much between people. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've met people from their 30s to 70s and 80s doing this sport.
Wow.
And so a lot of wisdom, a lot of kindness, fun, and then connection and community is really at the heart of what this has been about. And so yeah, we do meet every Wednesday. We're usually meeting. We take a bit of a break in the winter.
Mm.
We work more independently and just maintain our personal connections. But pretty much starting in March through about October is when the community is super active.
That's lovely. You also did a pretty big event recently. Is it called PDX to Coast?
Hmm. Yeah. So I'll say I've never participated in a race, let alone a race walking race. So it was fantastic. I participated in Portland to Coast, which for any of your listeners who don't know, it's one of the largest walk-in relay races in the world here in Oregon.
Mm.
And it's in its 35th year. So every team walks 128 miles. And we start in Portland and end in Seaside over about a 48-hour stretch.
Wow.
So,
Fascinating.
yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
There's a running side of it too, right? I didn't even admittedly know that there was a race walking side to it because I've heard of, I think it's called Hood to Coast or something on the other side, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So those folk run from the Mount Hood to the coast. So we all go in the same direction, just have a different pace, and they are running and we are walking. So you don't have to race walk, you can just casually walk. But bringing back that theme about competition, it is competitive, is what I should say. I think we came in about team 55 out of about 268.
Nice.
So
That's
I
pretty
mean,
good.
people care about where they come in the lineup. I was chuffed to finish.
Yeah, for
To be
sure.
quite honest. But no, so it is super exciting. The race was exciting, but the reality is, it was so much more than a race. And it was a new level of community, friendships, and connections. It was a lot about resilience. It was a lot about fun and laughter and storytelling because you're in a van with someone for, as I say, almost 48 hours. And I actually only knew two of the people really well in the van.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's like strangers, but the stories, especially folks who had been doing this sport for a long time, they could tell you a lot and share a lot of tips. So
I love that. That's so beautiful. You sparked something for me that came up in another conversation, which is sort of the blend between community and conversation and finding connection with people and physical activity and enrichment. Like, I think there's something really powerful in combining those things, right? I personally have never been like a sports team person, admittedly. Like, I joined the swim team when I was in high school. I was very casual about it, kind of continued on until college. But I think in my adult life, I'm realizing that there's just this beautiful connection between, as you said, you've had these sort of added benefits of like, enrich your body, and then you also enrich your community connections through that. Do you have any feeling like that's a powerful combination?
For sure. I guess what I would say is that you get to meet people of walks of life. When I think about adulthood in particular, is that there are certain inflection points in your life where there's a rhythm to life, where you're in the workplace, you get to meet work colleagues. If you're a parent, you take your children to school, you make friends through schools and parent association meetings and so forth. But there are natural inflection points as an adult where you meet other people. And usually it feels almost a little chore-like. I mean, some people don't like to spend much time with work colleagues, for example. And when you're a parent, you're raising children, it's not about the social side, even though there is a social side. There's a culture around that. But if you don't fit into any of those opportunities in life or those moments, I found friendships in adulthood to be quite an interesting and sometimes more challenging experience. And so that's one of the things that's become really clear is that in this community, not only am I doing something for myself, but I'm meeting people who have very, very diverse experiences in life. I have a friend who's a researcher for Alzheimer's at the local OHSU, Oregon Health Sciences University, for example. Another person is a teacher. Another person is a social worker. These people are not people with backgrounds that I would have otherwise have encountered.
Yeah, I think that's so much of what my motivation is for talking to people like you and talking about these things, because I do think in this age, we're so encouraged to just go meet people who are just like us, right? And go to, if there's an affinity that you have with someone or a group that you're a part of, those are the sort of connections that we're encouraged to because we know that they share certain things. And of course, sharing values is important, but at the same time, I think that's really important in the world for us to kind of learn empathy and learn how to, understand other people. So going back to Portland to Coast, how did you feel after? Were you proud of yourself? Did you feel challenged? Like, how did it linger with you?
Yeah. So I was exhilarated and exhausted. Those are probably the two words that come up for me. And as I say, this experience was so much more than about race walking. I was proud of my time. I had a 13-minute average minute mile, which
Wow.
for me was very good. That was my personal best. Uh, And so the challenge for me was really enjoying the experience the entire time.
Mhm.
So staying focused and doing my best and not letting the little voice that was worried about letting my team down because I was too slow or, letting that hijacked voice, consume my mind and the experience because the team did not put any pressure on me. It was all me. So it was truly a highlight this year.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. I think we've kind of covered this already, but what motivates you to keep going with this? And how long have you been doing this? Actually, I didn't ask that question.
Yeah, so it's been just over 2 years for
Nice.
me. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's quite a commitment. So what motivates you to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I would summarize that it is about the theme and what we've talked about around the community and the connection, but above all, just as a human being, I just feel stronger and healthier and fitter
Mm,
as a person. I mean, I've always been dedicated to my health, but something here is there's a schedule, there's a commitment. There are other people who are, pushing, not pushing you on, but really encouraging you.
yeah.
It's hard sometimes to get up at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning and go and race walk for 8 or 9 miles. If you're doing it with someone else, you're so much more likely to do the sport or, follow through. So that is definitely one thing. And I also feel that some of the interactions and some of the experiences impacted me more personally as far as my view of the world, my confidence in taking on activities or new challenges or I mean, we talk a lot about growth mindset in the world, especially in the professional environment. I mean, growth mindset doesn't happen in a book. It happens through small experiments, trying something new, stumbling. And I haven't had too many stumbles, is what I'll share. However, it hasn't always been easy. It hasn't, I mean, it sounds simple, but there are techniques. There are 90 degrees with your arms, there are shoulders back, your hamstrings have to behave a certain way. Your feet need to be in front of each other. It's a lot of coordination. And so it's really a lot of focus. So it's really bolstered my skills around being able to just focus, which in today's challenge world, I'll take that as a win.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many things in there that I just love and I think are really important messages around those challenges have made you better. Those challenges have helped your growth mindset. They've helped you focus, these kinds of things. And I mean, everything from waking up early in the morning and actually pushing yourself out the door to go do it, all the
Yeah.
way to improving your technique and doing things that are hard for you physically. Like that just feels like it's so important to learn how to healthily push yourself and challenge yourself, right? And it seems like this has
Right.
really played a key role in that for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think my last question is if you were going to talk to someone who was really wanting to do something like this, but was kind of struggling to figure out how to get started or figure out how to motivate or had some fear around it, what would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
Go and experiment. And where I'm coming from there is that I do believe that life is one big experimentation. There are a lot of stories I think we read about in the world around people who found their passion at a young age, or they found it a long time ago. That never applied for me.
Mm.
And so I've actually experimented with a lot of different communities over time. And I like to actually dabble in a lot of things, truthfully. The missing piece was often that community more on a regular, everyday basis. So that's why race walking was different. Also really low cost, by the way. So if anybody, that's another, some sports can be cost prohibitive or activities, not even sports. So my main advice is go and experiment, try something. If you hear something, whether it's on this podcast or something somebody else is doing, just go and try it out. There's a great book that I would probably recommend. It's called Tiny Experiments by Anne-Laure Cunff. And I mean, her story is amazing, but it's all about experimentation. And whether it's in the workplace, whether it's what we desire in life, or it touches on all aspects of life. So my message, yeah, once again, is just go and experiment. If you're curious, just try.
I love it. That is the perfect message to end on. And we will put the link to that book in the show notes. I'm interested in that book as well. It sounds fascinating.
Great.
Rhian, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your experience with us. It's been super fascinating, and I'm going to do a little bit more research on race walking now.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, Emily.
For everybody listening, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please add your comments wherever you are watching or listening to this. We'd love to hear what you think. If you've tried race walking, if you have impressions of it, if you have questions about it, just would love to hear what your thoughts are and what resonated with you during this conversation. Otherwise, until next time, thanks so much.